Crook Show with Mike. How are you, Mike? You're an entrepreneur. We're going to talk health. We're going to talk wellness. We're going to talk about many different things on the show. Have some amazing guests. I really appreciate us doing this show together. How are you, Mike?
Man, I'm doing great. How about you, Neil?
Fantastic. So let's talk about because again, you're in the health and wellness space as an entrepreneur. How did that all start for you?
That's an interesting story. Somewhere around 2010, I contracted sarcoidosis, sarcoid for short, and had these little granulomas putting pressure on my lungs, couldn't breathe. My pulmonologist said I'd have to be on prednisone for the rest of my life. If it even went into remission, I might die from it. And I said, this is impossible. There's got to be a cure for this. And I began to look outside of the medical profession, which I have a great history in. I've marketed in that marketplace for years. My wife is a master's level nurse. My mother taught nursing. So I'm aware, but I began to look outside. I contracted a naturopathic medical doctor, a friend of mine, and who had graduated from out in Arizona. And she said, it's just an autoimmune disease. And you just have a lot of inflammation. You need to get rid of inflammation. You can use antioxidants to do that. So she said, just throw every antioxidant first at the process, then start doing some research on PubMed.gov, which I did. And I found an antioxidant called fucoidin that's the brand name of it. Anyways, it's I think limumui is the actual seaweed that it comes from, but the antioxidant had done research on it for sarcoid. Started taking it 2 weeks later, gone, sent me on a mission to start telling, especially people in the healthcare industry, about this natural solutions for health problems. So I created a company called Specialty Health Solutions in 2013, and it's just been a ride from there.
And that's interesting because once you see how important your health is, when you were suffering with that pain and suffering, you said, you know what? I gotta help other people the same way, especially when you got what you went through and the pain and suffering and everything.
Yeah, it becomes a mission-focused endeavor, but I've learned how to make some great money at it and also help a lot of people in the process. And so you get a lot of joy out of helping a lot of people. And it's been something that's provided for our family in part for better part of a decade, more than a decade now.
And you discover lots of different things on this journey of what types of alternative health solutions that are out there, right? They're hidden a lot of times. You have to uncover.
When you walk into a medical doctor's office and you say, what do you believe? What do you believe will work for your patients? It's natural. And you're trying to get them to bite off into marketing something out of their practice, whether it be a chiropractic office or a medical doctor. Let's call them health practitioners for a generic term. You're having a conversation with somebody who's already developed some sort of beliefs. So I've learned what they know works for their patients already, but they're sending them somewhere else to buy it. So I started marketing things that they could sell out of their own practices and have an ancillary source of income. And not only do I have my own clients, my customers that I've worked with for decades, but also, again, a lot of practitioners who I've learned from them and I've taught them some things and come across new technologies, really credible products. We invented a telomere support formula, marketed that into an anti-aging community in a large U.S. city. And we've just done a number of things that at first I would have never thought I would have had the acumen to get there, the smarts, the intelligence. But I guess where all that started, really my desire was even back in college when I was pre-med. Decided to not go on to medical school. Just didn't have the desire to do all those years of education, but learned a lot about the body then. And then with that episode of sarcoid, it's just been a journey. It's been interesting. And I've learned so much with different things that have come along.
And that learning process and what we learned and how we got connected together is through a specific product, a certain person in a specific product that I have tried as a product, and it's a great health product. And we're going to talk about that on this podcast mostly, but I know we're going to jump into other conversations with other health practitioners and people that are going to give us some good health tips, because I think that everyone thinks what the doctor tells us, Mike, is it. It's gone.
That's
in the end, we're not going to be able to recover. No. This is your lifespan's this and all these things, because they've been trained to teach people that, hey, this is the system. And if the books say you can't cure this disease or you can't cure this, it's over and there's no other solution.
Big Pharma is in a business trying to maintain a sickness to where it doesn't get any worse till the patient dies, because then they lose their consumer. Their business goes away. But they don't want it to get fixed because it then ends up being a loss for them because then it's a cure. I have friends who've worked on research for years with these different drugs that come out. All of them are familiar, and I'm not going to mention any names because they'll sue me over it and such, and don't want to go through all that mess. But I'm thinking of one particular drug that helps with your digestive system and prevents certain things from happening that are common digestive problems. And so they come out with this drug. The drug helps, but come to find out they had a version they started out with in their research that could have fixed it completely, but they backed off of what it could have done to do the one that was less effective so they could get a patent on it, sell it, have a marketplace for that, make money off of it, stock goes up. And then eventually their research is out there on the other one. They're out there doing their research on the other product. And then it comes out and it's the next version of this. It's the next deal. It's the next deal. And it's all just, again, to make money. And I'm a capitalist. I want to make money. I think it's a great thing in America that we get the chance to just have a business and unlimited and do what we want to do. But we're talking about people's health, their lives, and that's different. If you can help them get fixed completely, it's there. Even the medical community, I hate to say this, but there's verbiage in the medical community that never talks about a cure. They talk about remission, or the symptoms would abate, or they might reduce their symptomatic processes. It's just little terms instead of saying he cured, he's healed, he's now. It's not that. It's you don't have the symptoms anymore. You're in remission. We don't know. It's not fixed. And the whole mindset is we're just temporary. We're just putting a Band-Aid on something instead of taking care of it. And I've seen in my 15 years of being around this, I've seen people with natural solutions go from a condition of sickness with symptoms galore to a position of wellness where they don't have any symptoms. Absence of symptoms to me is being well or being healed. And I've seen doctors, guys with MDs after their name, quit practicing medicine and start practicing wellness and treating things with wellness. There are things happening in other countries with cancer where people go in with stage 4 cancer and walk out with no symptoms whatsoever. And again, I'm not going to claim they got cured because then they get sued by somebody, but there are things that are happening in their bodies that are just dramatic. And so we're going to talk about some technology and some things on the marketplace that are pretty doggone interesting. We're going to have some medical people on our podcast. We're going to have some individuals who've had really great results, is the way we'll call that. We've seen pain leave their body, or what better would be described as discomfort in ways. And it's all because of things that are natural. The body was created to heal itself. When you cut your finger, what happens? It doesn't just keep bleeding.
It finally heals.
It goes away. You might put a Band-Aid on to instantly stop the bleeding. If you got a severe cut, you might put something more on it. But it does have a natural process of healing. Where does that come from? Is the body is created by our Creator to heal itself, to fix itself, to do all these things. It's amazing. I tell people it's a huge compensatory machine. It will borrow from Peter to pay Paul to get things done, to make it all work and get fixed. So I'm looking forward to all our discussions, the journey, the people we're going to have on. It's going to be an interesting program, and I hope people learn a lot. I hope I'll learn a lot too, because I'm a lifetime learner. I want to learn everything else that everybody else, all of our people who call in and watch the show, send us some information. We'll learn some new things as well too.
I'm a lifetime learner as well. And let's go to diving into LifeWave. How did you get introduced to LifeWave? Let's talk about this and talk about what you've seen with the product. I'll mention a few things I have seen since I've been on the product, and you're probably learning more and more of this technology that we just don't recognize until we take it off. But how did it happen?
All right. So before I get into specifics of how it happened, I'm going to do my disclaimer because we're required by the FDA and the Federal Trade Commission to do these things. LifeWave's technology doesn't cure anything. All it does is cause the body to go back into producing or doing what it should do in the first place. And that the body produces is the things that changes symptoms in the body, not the LifeWave technology, but the body itself. So LifeWave doesn't cure anything. It's just a piece of technology that has an effect on it. Like you go out into the sun is technology. God created technology. It's not our own technology. It has waves of light that hit your body, and those waves of light cause vitamin D to be produced through a process. But the first instigator of that is the outdoors, the light that you go out and see. So it's just a piece of technology. So how I came across it, it's a funny story. I was at church one day and I walked up behind a guy who had this little circular patch on the back of his neck. And he was a friend of mine. I walked up to him and I said, "What's this?" He's a tall guy. So we're in the TGC, the Tall Guys Club. And I walk up to him and I'm saying, "What's this on the back of your neck?" He's a few inches taller than I'm 6'1.5". He's 6'3", 6'4", but he says, "It's a patch." I said, "I can see that." He says, "It's a LifeWave patch." And I said, "What is a LifeWave patch?" And he says, "It's a stem cell activator." And he said, "It's caused my bald spot on the back of my head to fill in." Now, I can tell you just right up front, I've noticed a lot of hair growth up in this area since I've been on the patch. I have the same condition I do.
Yeah, but I haven't tried to recognize it because I always shave it. So I did.
That's what I do too. So I let it go for about 3 weeks and I had all of these hairs that were popping up that I hadn't had for years. And I thought, do I want to grow my hair back? I really don't. So I keep shaving it. And I suppose that one day I wake up and I have all of this popping out up here, I'll do it. But for him, the back of his head was filled in. And so I went, well, that is strange and interesting. These stem cells. And so he's told me a little bit about it. I said, "Can I get some more information from you?" Church service started. We weren't able to talk any further. And I called him several times, never got anything from him. So I went on a dive trying to find out LifeWave. What is this company? Where it is? And I just went on the internet, started searching. And I found a guy named Danny McDaniel, who is out in Texas, who come to find out we knew each other through a cousin of mine. And we had this conversation about this product. I guess where I first found him is he had a YouTube on that was a compensation plan description. How does this work financially for you? So I watched that and I thought he was very interesting as a teacher, did a great job on it, learned a little bit about his background when he introduced himself. And I found him on Facebook and said, "Hey, can we get together?" And so one Saturday morning, we had a couple-hour conversation about it. He told me what his personal experience is. He had a frozen shoulder, got on this technology, and the frozen shoulder went away in a short period of time. Doctors had said it's a 50-50 shot. You can get on medication. It's not going to really do anything for you. You relieve some pain, but we can do a surgery, but that's a 50-50 shot of it doing anything. He got on this patch, this stem cell activating patch, and it took off. Everything worked for him. His wife got healed of the meniscus tears in her knees, got total relief of that. No more pain in those things. And again, the patch didn't heal. It was the patch that just caused the body to instigate stem cell activity again. And when we get past age 30, our stem cells do a deep dive off into the abyss. And they're in our body. They're there. They can multiply. They can do things there, but you need something to activate them. So I learned that this GHK copper peptide is what needs to be done to affect that. And this little patch, which we'll show here later. I'm looking for mine around here, and my package is somewhere on my desk, but I got to find it here. It's a little circular patch about the size of a quarter. When you put it on, starts an instigation light from your own body, your own infrared light, which you're giving off. You see these movies with these night scopes, and people see these people. That's infrared light coming from the human body. So this infrared light in a specific frequency bounces back to the skin and begins the process of taking a copper and a peptide, forming together and forming a copper peptide, which then reactivates your stem cells. And so for me, that's the process how I became aware of it. I ordered some. I said, "Danny, if this works, I'll be marketing with you because this is something I'm highly interested in. And I'm sure that my relationships that I have in the marketplace will be interested in it as well." And he said, "Great. And if it does, great." And I said, "If it doesn't work for me, I'm not going to bother calling you back." I got my sleeve of patches, as they call them, and I put one on. And I'm telling you, that night I had the best sleep I've had since I was probably 17 years old. I slept so solidly through the night. I woke up with so much energy. I'm drinking something this morning, but I've really quit drinking coffee. This is just some water to keep my throat parched. But I've stopped drinking coffee. I don't need supplemental energy throughout the day because the patch, the effect on my body has this effect for me. Now that has been maintained with me. I begin to see pain that I had in my hip. I was like on a level 10 of 10 in my hip. When you looked at me, a doctor's picture, my left hip looked like a teenager. My right hip looked like it was some gnarly, ugly looking granular. You had all these things sticking out of it that just, you could tell it's destroyed my cartilage, everything there. I'm bone on bone and I'm hurting really bad with it. I began to drop, and within about 3 weeks, I went from a 10 down to about a 2 in pain level, and talked to my I want to come up with the name of it, my bone doctor. And he said, "I've never seen stem cells actually rebuild cartilage. I have actually since that time seen them rebuild cartilage, but it takes a period of time. And he said, why not get your life back, get this removed, let me put you on the surgery schedule. I said, okay. So I'm down now from July of 2024 to October 15th. I have my surgery. I come out of surgery and I said, I'm going to put my patches back on right after surgery. He said, it's all right. I don't care what you do after surgery. Just follow my care plans. In 2 weeks, I'm telling you, I'm completely recovered. He looks at my scar tissue within 2 weeks, is totally amazed at how it's healed. He's amazed that I'm walking without any assistance in 2 weeks. I'm driving my car. I'm at a place where he claimed that I should have been at 8 to 14 weeks. All because of these stem cell activating patches. My wife has seen some really interesting things with her as well, too. She hasn't got all the problems. She had great genetics. Her mother's 96 years old and pretty good health for 96. And she began to notice that female issues at 60 plus years of age, I won't give her exact age out here, but at 60, I'm 62. She can tell you she's a little older than I am. Anyway, so with that age, she's experienced a lot of female things. Those begin to just disappear. So I'm telling the ladies who are listening here, if you got female stuff going on, your past or your premenopause, postmenopause, whatever it is, there's a lot of that stuff that this reverses aging on you with stem cell activity, and they go away.
But remind them this technology is a longer period. It just doesn't happen, and you recognize things later on sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, one day I'm talking to somebody, I guess it was Danny I was on the phone with, maybe on a Zoom call, and we're having a chat about things, and he was telling me about how his floaters went away in his eyes and how his eyesight got better. And I went, wow, I haven't seen floaters in a long time. So mine have gone away. It just dawned on me.
But consistently putting the patch on. Some people just don't.
12 hours on, 12 hours off. We haven't really gotten into how you should wear them and such, but
talk about that on another podcast. Yeah.
But the symptoms of floaters went away. I've had my eyesight get better twice. My glasses I wear, I need for shorter distance, not longer distance anymore. So I've seen a myriad of things in my human body just reverse. Like my friend Danny has seen his hair literally get darker, gray go away. So we've seen, if we're going to rattle it off, I've seen fibromyalgia symptoms totally go away within 3 weeks. I've seen Parkinson's symptoms totally go away within a period of 2 or 3, 4 months. I've seen in as little as 3 weeks, IBD, which is called inflammatory bowel disease, commonly known as Crohn's and colitis, 3 weeks, gone. All the, again, symptoms just disappear and not reoccur. Or if they do reoccur in such little frequency, it's not a problem. It's not an issue. So we're looking at autoimmune diseases in general, just abate, go away. Their symptoms start to fall away and disappear. All sorts of bone and joint issues just start to get resolved. I wear another patch that the company talked about. We won't get into the names of these patches right now and get it because we have to for another interview, but that I put on muscle mass that I'm a skinny fella. I just didn't normally put on a lot of muscle mass, but in working out since my hip replacement, I have had huge amounts of muscle mass come on me, significantly more. I'll take my shirt off one day and show my muscles to the audience, but I didn't have those before, and they're just coming on because, again, of what these things stimulate the body to do. The patches don't do it. It's what they stimulate your own body to do. So just a myriad of things that have. We tell people this way. They say, will it work on blank, fill in the blank? And I say, look, it works on everything for everyone all the time if you just give it enough time. I went to a presentation recently on stem cell injections, and the doctor who was presenting it and nurse and staff there, and they were presenting these regenerative medicines, what they called it, and they were focusing primarily on getting rid of pain in the human body. And they were talking about injections into the joints. They were talking about an injection into your bloodstream where it goes all over your body. And they were saying it could take as much as 3 to 4 months before you get the full effect of these injections of baby stem cells. And I said baby, not from a baby, but from the umbilical cord or the placenta that is not come from an aborted fetus. That's illegal in America and most countries for that matter. But it can come from, again, just normal deliveries. This is the leftover after normal deliveries. And they would take those and multiply with them. $25,000 for the procedures up to. They could start off with one injection for a lot less, but $25,000, that's a lot of money. And we'll talk about the cost of these patches. We're talking about less than a cup of coffee every day. And that is remarkable that we're getting the same types of results with a stem cell activating patch versus going under some injection and having to go under x-ray to make sure it gets in the right spot or whatever the process. So it's amazing what results we're getting. So you've told me some about your results. Let's hear what you got.
Definitely more energy. I also could see specifically enough certain pains go away. I don't have as much asthma as I did before from like sports-induced asthma or other things, not having to use my inhaler as much. I'm allergic to sometimes animals in certain ways. I'm not seeing, my breathing's better.
What about your focus?
My focus has improved. I'm working on multiple ways to do that. So modalities for that, but I'll have to look into more things. But I've seen certain things heal when you put the patch on a specific spot or things like in that nature. Like I said, as I see it as slow and steady wins the race. And how long have you been using the patches?
Since July of last year. So I'm coming on, I guess, close to a year and a half here.
I'm only like 4 months, 5 months in. When I was on before, then went off, and I saw a complete difference. And when I don't wear the patch, I already can feel that difference. So absolutely.
For me, one of the other things is I had brain fog from COVID. I would try to remember a person's name and it just wouldn't come out. I still have some symptoms of that, but I'm telling you, the majority of that brain fog has completely disappeared. And that seems to be something universal. I've heard even some of our doctors, MDs, testify to their own brain fog disappearing.
All right, we're going to have a link at the bottom into all the videos and everything that drive to a specific place for people that can go learn more about this information and purchase this technology. We really appreciate it. Next week, you'll have a guest for us, hopefully, or we'll be talking more about the event you're going to be going to and more of these tremendous stories. So I appreciate it.
Good deal. Good to be with you.
All right. That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and the Mike Crook Show, guys. Take care.